your first PBR or private business review. I'd like now to teach you the specifics of how to set up your first PBR, which is called a private business review, and maybe continue as I teach you how to do it to help you understand the why to do it. Maybe that's even more important. Remember, I stated a few minutes ago that my total goal and objective was to transfer what I describe as the baton of knowledge and leadership, because I know that when a person begins to feel themselves as a subset of your group, if they're no longer thinking of themselves as part of my business, but they're thinking of themselves as part of your business, then at that point leadership is transferred, and now you have a business that begins to take on a life of its own. The private business review. It seems in some people's mindset to be kind of an old school way to do network marketing. They say, oh my gosh, Randy, don't you use the internet? Don't you use technology? Absolutely, I use all of those things. However, I promise you this, my business is a face-to-face, person-to-person business in terms of leadership hierarchy creation. It's here that we transfer this basic baton of knowledge and leadership. A private business review is the backbone of the business. And again, other training materials that I'll go through describe all of the different ways of presenting the business. But a private business review is when you open your home to have people who have said yes as a result of reviewing a preliminary information device. Now they come to see specifically what the Agile business is. In all likelihood, it is here at your home that a person receives their first product. Now, I have created a tool that you can use to simply review a DVD in this home environment. You may choose to deliver the information at that PBR. In all likelihood, you will have a member, an upline resource in attendance with you to physically make that presentation. If not, you'll utilize a DVD tool and then a phone call in behind it on speakerphone with an organization team leader. Here's the way that it works. Having now created a candidate list and created an introductory script, having determined what will be the preliminary information device, that leads to the next correct activity. And please understand this, in our business, every correct activity leads to the next correct activity. Any breakdown in the process does what? It stops. There is no more progression. So first, we set objectives. We identify candidate list. We create a preliminary, decide what will be our preliminary information device, having come to understand the various tools. We then create a script. We place the script. If A, then B. If C, then D. Now we get to the point of this private business review. A correctly conducted private business review will have perhaps 7 to 10 candidates, 7 to 10 people who have listened, watched, reviewed a preliminary information device. 1 or 2 of them will have said, yes, this makes sense to me. Why? Into the top of the funnel, we found someone whose personal timing was right. They're ready to take action. They're here to validate a decision they have already made. The majority are there to arrive at a concluding point or to take one more step. You know, I was involved in a conversation recently with one of the emerging leaders in our business, and he said, Randy, I need you to help my group learn how to close. Man, that sat me back. Learn how to close? Man, I don't want to be closed. Do you want to be closed? I don't want to be closed. You know, if I ever feel like I'm being closed, you know what I do, Peter? I exit the conversation. I do. I'm not going to teach you how to close anybody. I've never learned how to do that. What I do instead is help a person engage in a simple, proven, predictable pattern of activities that allow each individual, as a result of their own goals, their own circumstance in life, to arrive at what I call their point of logical conclusion. And my objective is to allow each person to arrive at his or her point of logical conclusion in the shortest possible time. If that conclusion is no, I'm not going to do anything with this company, great. I want to know that in the shortest possible time so that I don't invest any more time or emotional energy into it. If the conclusion is, you know what, I'm not going to do the business right now. Why? Because my personal timing is not correct. But I'd like to use some products. Great. I want to know that in the shortest possible time. If the conclusion is, you know, where I am right now in my life, I really see where this can be a great secondary income source for me, and I want to know how to use my time effectively with a small part-time commitment. Great. I want to know that in the shortest possible time. If a person says, Randy, I want this to become the breakthrough financial experience for me. I'm willing to make the required sacrifices and to learn what I need to learn. Great. I want to know that in the shortest possible period of time. That's what the pattern of activities is designed to do. So now, a private business review. We invite people to our homes. And when they come, there are 7 to 10 people who have said that, in fact, I've reviewed this material and I would like to be there. Now, what is the logic? I want you to know, folks, that there is no guesswork here. Every single thing that we do in this business is done on purpose. I know some folks say, well, gosh, why don't I just go and meet with candidates one-on-one? Because it doesn't work. That's why. It doesn't work. You know, now you're a brand new person. You're going to go out and meet with candidates one-on-one. You just became the information provider again. It doesn't work. That's why I don't advise it. Well, 2-on-1. Let me get a member of my, quote, upline with me, and we'll go and meet with the candidate. It's about the worst idea I've ever heard. Why? Why do we get involved in this business? Because of leverage. You have reverse leverage. I mean, my gosh, Peter, there's two of us and one of them. If two team members go to meet with a candidate, it's reverse leverage. And remember, every single thing that we do in our business, we're teaching somebody else what they must do. It's wrong. Now, are there times when I would step outside of this general guideline? Of course, sometimes there is some very, very, very important candidate, some hugely important candidate in your mind that needs to be dealt with a little bit differently. Okay, fine. The huge majority of instances, and remember this, if we go and meet with someone on a one-on-one basis, violating all the principles that I have taught, then we just took away from them the opportunity to observe other people's reactions to the message. If we go to a two-on-one, if there are two people trying to close me, how will I feel? Like this. But if I am one of 7 or 8 or 10 candidates in a room, and now I get to look around the room, here's the magic thing that happens, folks. When candidate A responds positively, out of a group of 7 to 10, there will always be 2 or 3 who are visibly, evidently optimistic, positive. By the time the presentation is 2/3 of the way over, they have made some affirmative statement. This sounds great. Where do I go from here? This sounds terrific. What's my next step? When candidate A makes an affirmative statement that more positively impacts candidate B, C, and D than anything else that I say or the presenter says during the presentation, you steal that opportunity from candidate A to see the way that others respond when you work on a two-on-one or a one-on-one environment. And just one quick example of me describing to you again the fact that every single thing that I do in this business is done on purpose. It's only because I did it wrong first, and I'm gradually working myself on getting closer and closer and closer to the absolute center of the center line. And so now I've invited people to my home. A few things that I do. First of all, as it works out, I have a dog and a cat. I love my dog. I really can't quite stand the cat. But you know what? Some people don't like pets at all. And if someone comes to my home and they happen to have an allergy to pets, nothing could script the presentation worse than having them sniffling and sneezing and saying, oh my gosh, I wear a lot of black. Boy, I hate it when I climb off of somebody's sofa and I've got cat hair, dog hair all over me, and my black pants are now black and white. If I've got someone coming to my home for a business environment, I promise you that if I have pets, those pets are out of sight, they're out of mind, and I have been super, super, super careful to make sure that no one's experience in my home is impacted by the fact that I have a pet. What about kids? Man, I love kids. I love mine, and I love yours. I probably don't love them in my business presentations. In my own case, I think that it's appropriate. I will have my daughter come and spend a couple of minutes there at the very outset. This business of mine, there's a kind of a mushy line between my family time and my business time. They come together a little bit because otherwise then I have less business time, and otherwise I have less family time. I bring them together a little bit. My whole family is a part of my business. But you know what? There's a time after those first introductions when it's appropriate for Summer to not be right there in the action. It's appropriate for her to be back in her room. And if she's listening to a stereo, it's appropriate for the stereo to be quiet, Kids, pets, they're out of sight, out of mind. Some of us still have old-fashioned answering machines. Man, I hate it when the telephone rings and rings and rings. Once the presentation begins, the telephone ringers are shut off. And your cell phone, as the host, your cell phone is shut off. What do I see again and again? Well, I've got one more person coming, Randy, and so I'm waiting. I'm waiting for this phone call. Guys, we honor and respect the individual who was there on time. This is the key. If we say that a PBR is starting at 7 o'clock, it starts at 7 o'clock. What about the 5 that are coming late? What about the 2 or 3 who came on time? And that leads us to another thought. Generally speaking, our living room, our dining room, is large enough to seat the number of people who are going to come. I don't ever ask you to set up chairs. You might have some that are available. They're there. But if a person walks into your home and they can see 7 to 10 chairs set up and there's only 2 people who come, what do they feel like? Do they feel like, wow, this is something that's happening? Or do they feel like, who are the other 8 people that these guys thought were going to be here? Let's kind of be in front of this.